Welcome, 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 welcome to the Unlocking Unlimited Potential Stories. We are here for episode 2, and I am super excited to be back on the horse here and back at it. So we're excited to be here with you all. Today, we have an amazing guest. We have a new author from Road to Awesome Publishing. Her name is Debbie Tannenbaum, and Debbie is a 21-year teacher. She is in Fairfax, Virginia. She's got a ton of technological background. She is a Google level 1 and a level 2 certified instructor. And most importantly, she's also a mother of 4. So we are super excited. Debbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
We are excited to have you. To be honest with you, I've been excited to hear about your journey since, you've kind of came to fruition with Road to Awesome with Darren and with everything that you're doing. And it's just been great to see. And, I've also had a chance to see all your work and all your awesome writing lately. So we are really excited about all that you're doing. And we are excited about your book that's going to come. And most importantly, I am also super excited and thankful for your most recent blog post where you had a chance to write about reading my book, Unlocking Unlimited Potential. And so what we do in this show is, in this book talk, we gather readers of Unlocking Unlimited Potential to share their experiences, their insights, and connections to their own stories. So first and foremost, Debbie, tell us a little bit about yourself for those people out there who don't know you.
Sure. I'm a tech coach in an elementary school in Northern Virginia. This is my 3rd year in this role. It's really fun. I get to help teachers and students learn best ways to amplify, learning using technology. So it's definitely been interesting in the current circumstances, because right now we're 100% remote, but they keep telling us we're going to go hybrid, and then they keep switching back and forth. But I love what I do. And in 4 days, I'm a blogger as well. My blog will be 2 years old in 4 days. I'm a very proud blog mom. And I've been blogging for a while. I've started doing some presenting, which is also really exciting, sharing the cool things that all my kids and my teachers are doing. And lo and behold, I'm an author now. And my first book, which is hopefully going to be one of more than, I won't be the only, is going to be coming out this spring by Road to Awesome, which is super exciting.
That is super exciting. And we know that it's a journey. It's a labor of love for sure. And so, let's just kind of get started. Let's walk through this a little bit. Now, you did mention that you wrote and you did write an awesome blog. And one thing that I love that you do is that you connect with so many different people, so many different authors that are out there. And one way you do it is through this blog. And I know that you connected and you wrote a blog and you wrote about the book that you just read. And so let me just ask you a question first and foremost. Why did you decide to get and read the book, Unlocking Unlimited Potential?
So I'm going to feel a little bit bad about it, but I want it. But honestly, I won it at the Teach Better 12-hour live, which happened in December. And when you and Darren were speaking, I was like, wow, this book is something I want to check out. So when they were like, oh, we're giving it away, I was like, I'm going to win this one. And so I won it for that. And but I as I was looking at it, last year was my challenge year for my one word. So I was kind of curious how this was going to kind of blend in with it and relate to it. But yeah, so thank you for sending.
Yeah, no, listen, it's awesome.
I even have an autograph because of that.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Sometimes, winning a book, it feels pretty good. And, kudos to you being a part of the Teach Better team and being a part of the 12-hour live. Did you watch all 12 hours is the real question.
I tried to do the best I could. Didn't make it through the entire thing. But I really love when Teach Better has been a really great support to me. And I'm an ambassador, and I'm really proud to be an ambassador because I really believe in everything that they say. And I was joking with Jeff yesterday. I'm like, it might be time for another one soon. Because I really enjoy it. It's such a great source of PD.
Absolutely. I will agree with you on that one. I loved it. And I had a chance to share and be on with Darren Peppard and Ray. And that was an awesome opportunity. And the Teach Better team has really brought on some really awesome connections. And I remember seeing the 12-hour live over the summer, and I was just kind of mesmerized by how much power and how much knowledge was happening there. And so that was awesome to see. So, the story Unlocking Unlimited Potential, I think there's a lot that, in speaking to you before the show and reading your blog, I think there happened to be a lot that resonated with you. So I always love it when people connect it to their journey and connect it to, their own life. And so what kind of things resonated with you from the book when you were reading it?
Well, like I said, in 2020, my one word was challenge. And that kind of came from in 2019 when I went to ISTE and I started trying to do things I'd never done before. Being a mom, I was a mom of two, and then I got remarried, and now I'm a mom of four. Didn't really get a chance to do a whole lot. But I did a lot when I went to ISTE. I really pushed myself, and I just decided it's that whole idea. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And last year I really pushed myself. I worked on writing. I worked on presenting. I tried to be a Google innovator. That didn't work out, but that's okay. And so just the whole idea that when you talk in your book about having to ask what you want and then having to believe it, like that really resonated with me, because once I believed that it was possible, it became more possible. And then, being ready to receive it, that really resonated because it took a lot of the things I'd been doing and put them into words in a different way than me just saying, oh, I'm taking risks and I'm trying new things. But it really kind of let me see the bigger picture of that. And so that was really meaningful to me. And my husband kept laughing at me because I was like, you have to read this. He goes, it's an education book. But that really definitely resonated with me a lot. And I also just loved your idea of the challenge, once again, being an opportunity for growth. When I was, pick the word challenge, I was trying to challenge myself. 2020 was a challenging year. But there were a lot of things that happened in 2020 that would have never been able to happen if it hadn't have been for what happened. I mean, I presented all over the country. I could have never afforded with 4 kids to do that.
Yeah, totally.
I had time to write. I wouldn't have had time to do that either. So like a lot of things that happened might not have happened without those challenges. So, and then the last thing, you just talk a lot about reflection in your book, and obviously being a blogger, reflection is a really important thing for me.
Yeah. And I think it's amazing. And the real question is, as I look at your blog and as I write, so how do you have a plan? How often do you write your blog? Do you put out a certain number of blog posts a week?
So from March until December, my blogging was kind of inconsistent. And I've noticed that when my blogging's inconsistent, my mood isn't as consistent. I do much better and I feel much more positive when I blog. And so for this year, I was just like, I'm going to write a half an hour every morning. I read for 10 to 15 minutes and then I write. And as I finished the manuscript of my book, I was like, wait, what am I going to do during that writing time? And so it's turned out so far, I've blogged every 3 days, which astounds me. But it just seems like with everything that's gone on, like this creativity has been unleashed inside of me. And I just feel like there's lots I want to share. And people have been so amazing and responsive. Like, it's just amazing. And my feeling is that my blogs turned into my book last time. Who knows what my next book will be based on these blogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important that when we all look in the mirror, right, after 2020 and during going into 2021, and when you look back, like we're almost coming up on like that year-long anniversary of this craziness happening back in early March. I mean, you think about, for some people, they may feel like they came really far, and for some other people, they may feel like they didn't come that far at all. And I think what you're saying is how you decided to just kind of reflect, learn and just continue to do that over and over and over again. And I think that that story is so powerful. I think that that is important to all of us because we constantly, we all run into challenging situations. And I think your challenging situation, and I think educators too, man, we were really frustrated back in March, and we're not the same as we are now.
No. And I also think, I unfortunately did get sick with COVID this year in September. And after being sick, and I was lucky I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything, but after being sick and not being able to do all the things that I can do now, I appreciate all of that so much more. And, also just thinking about that gratitude piece, that fits in, that goes in with that reflection, it really is a powerful thing. And I want to make, my blog sometimes is for me. One of my most recent blog posts was celebrating my teachers and how they're using Pear Deck to engage with their kids. So, depending on what inspires me will depend on the focus.
Completely. And I love that, what inspires you and what you want. So you're choosing your path. And I think that that's really essential. And I think that's it's really all about at the end of it all. I mean, what is it that we want our lives to be? How do we want to wake up in the morning and go to work? Do we want work to be a place where we're just there to do a job? Or do we want work to be a place where, we are empowering others with a really sincere purpose? And I think that that's what it's all about. And I think that's something that, that you have. And I love that about you. And I think that's so cool. And I see it so much in your writing. And I think that's really awesome. So I guess a question too that I would ask is, you talked a little bit about how this journey has kind of led you to a book, right? And I know there's a lot of educators out there that would love to write a book. And I sat around for 6 years and said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. And it wasn't till I turned and changed my language to I am writing a book, and putting myself in that moment of that this isn't going to happen, it's happening. And I think changing that for me, that was one really important thing. So talk a little bit about your story. First off, take us through your story on kind of how you landed at Road to Awesome Publishing. And then we can kind of talk a little bit about your book, because I can't wait to hear about it. I've heard great things.
So it's kind of interesting. I came up with the idea for the book last December while I was hiking in nature, which I find just really interesting. Like, nature helps you think. And I worked on it a lot from January to March. And then March came and life kind of went wacko. I don't know what other word to say. And so in December, I was watching a Teachers on Fire roundtable. And during that roundtable, they were interviewing authors. And for some reason, I thought that in order to write a book and share it with anybody, I had to be done. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. And meanwhile, the people who were on there were like, no, you don't have to be done. Send what you have. Send a proposal. Send this. And I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it turns out on the 24th, I responded to a message that Darren put it asking if you have a story. And I wrote back saying, I'm working on a draft. And he wrote back saying, let me know if you need any help. And at that point, I was like, I'm not doing anything with this. I didn't even know Darren then. And after watching that, roundtable, I wrote him back and I said, I'd love to meet with you and get some ideas. And the two of us sat down and I started explaining to him my book and my concept. And all of a sudden, it went from being this abstract idea to like something that like I was so passionate about in a different way. I can't quite explain it. And he was getting excited about it and I was getting excited about it. And I'm taking notes based on what he's saying because I'm so excited. And from the time and then he says, okay, I'll get back to you in a couple of days. And I was just like, whatever. I honestly didn't think anything was coming of it. And I had sent my stuff to a couple other publishers. And I left that conversation, and all of a sudden my husband looked at me, it was winter break, and he's like, you just can't stop writing. And I couldn't. All of a sudden, like this energy was like exuding from me, this creativity. And like, I finished the book during winter break pretty close to it, just because there was so much excitement. And every time I would talk to Darren, I would get really excited. But I was nervous. So like I talked to him a second time and I'm like, I'm a little nervous about this. You're a new company, this and that. And he's just such a wonderful person. And he was understanding. He answered all my questions. I had 26 questions for him. And he gave me the time to really think it through. And my husband and I talked, and we knew that this was the right place for my book. He believed in my book in a way that I believed in my book. And that's who I wanted to represent my book. And so on the 15th, I signed the contract, and now something I never thought would be possible is.
Yeah, absolutely. So possible, right? And I think we all go through that journey, whether we're writing a book or whether we're trying something new, where there's those self-limiting beliefs, right?
Absolutely.
And, and even more so as you start to write the book and as you start to get, I know your book right now is sitting on the editing table and you haven't heard somebody read it yet. That's like the worst time. I remember sitting through that time where I was waiting for the editor to come back with it. I was like, oh man, I hope it's okay. And, you're waiting because as you sit through and you go through that, you start to wonder, right? We call it that imposter syndrome, so to speak. And I think that there's a lot in your story right there is, you do not have to have the book written to get it published. I remember I Googled how to write a book proposal, and that's what I did. And so I think that that's really awesome. And I love that how your story kind of started from, well, what if I just jump in and do it? And I love that story. So let's talk about your book. Tell us about your book. I can't wait to hear about it because Darren is just raving about it every time I speak to him.
Well, Darren's awesome. So my book is called Transform: Techie Notes to Make Learning Sticky. And it really is my journey as an educator. It starts off really talking about, when I started teaching, how we all talk behind closed doors. And I did not have a great start to my teaching career, I'll be honest. And then it talks about how I discovered technology and how that kind of changed everything for me. And then it talks about how I learned to kind of revisit the role of technology. When I first started using it, we were using scholastic.com and we were doing these projects. And now that seems like so old and so not something we would do now, but really looking at how technology could be used to provide opportunities you can't have without the technology. And it can really amplify the student learning, and talking about some of my favorite programs and really talking about ways that we can really promote our kids to create. I really am a big proponent of creation over consumption. And then it kind of goes into my journey as a connected educator. In 2017, I discovered Twitter. It seems like it's been longer than that. My principal dragged me kicking and screaming, in my mind at least. And I found a community I didn't know existed between podcasts and Twitter and all these groups like Teach Better and things like that. I found something I just didn't know existed. And I found a community of people who were just as crazy as I was and loved all the same stuff I did. And it's just been amazing. I mean, I told my teachers, you should participate in Twitter chats. Well, if I wasn't doing it, I couldn't expect them to do it. And I've just met so many amazing people. When I went to ISTE, there were people who I'd never met face-to-face who we were giving each other hugs. I wish we could do that now, but we can't. It's just created such a rich environment for me. I'm the only tech coach in my building. There's lots of us in my district, but it's just nice to be able to connect with people and know that you have people who understand what's going on, even though they're, technically in your virtual world. It's just really been amazing. I can't get over the people I've met online and the impact they've had on my life that I would have never, ever expected. And it still kind of shocks me because I'm I'm really a shy person, but like, I love the fact that like all these people, when I went to conferences, people are like, oh, we're all shy, but together we're not. And it's just like, it really takes, it enables you to really reach that where you aspire to be. It's just really amazing.
Yeah. That's exactly, you kind of just dive right into it and you meet so many great people. So, with all of this awesome stuff that you have in this book, what would you say is one takeaway that you really want people to walk away with and be able to implement in their classroom as soon as possible?
I think the takeaway is that, you know, you don't have to do this alone, and it's and that you and your students can go from consumptions to that creation, because like people told me, everybody has a story to tell. And I really didn't think I had a story to tell until I started writing it. And people will come up to me and say, I want to write a book. How did you do it? I'm like, just start. And I think that whole idea of, just start is really important. If you want something, you just have to get started. It's just a really important thing to keep in mind.
And
Because
so, with your starting, how long did it take you to write this book? Had you been writing pieces of it for a while, or did you just stop watching that Teacher's on Fire and you were on fire and all of a sudden this book came out?
I had about half of it done, but it really went on fire once I talked to Darren. And I started making time for writing every day. For a while, I wasn't doing it as much. I mean, and it's interesting because 2 of the chapters completely changed when I went back and looked at it, because I realized that with last year being for me challenge and this year's my year of transformation, that there were things I wanted to share really about, that you could reach beyond your expectations. And I hadn't even read your book or talked about potential, but a lot of those messages were in there as well. I really want people to know that a lot of teachers are afraid. And I was talking about this today with my tech coaches group. People are afraid. And so fear holds people back. And I'll be honest, I don't like being on camera, but I did this today because I'm facing my fears and I'm going past them. And when you do that, that's where that real growth happens.
I love that. Fear holds people back. I totally agree. I totally agree. I mean, and that's what it is, right? Fear of the unknown and fear of, hey, what if this doesn't work out? And that's that self-limiting belief. What if it does? What if it does? And if it doesn't work out, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I feel like what you're saying and something that I'm hearing from you and that's inspiring me is that all too often we sit there and we worry about what might happen, right?
Yeah.
And what might happen that is not the positive side of it. But there's so much opportunity that can come from challenges, right? And
Absolutely.
There's so many opportunities for growth. So I love that about your book. And I love that you're talking about my main man, Darren, because we have to honor, obviously, what we do in this episode is we dedicate every episode to an awesome, amazing educator who's out there unlocking unlimited potential. Absolutely. And we have to talk about my main man, Darren. Darren Peppard. For those of you that don't know him or follow him, you can follow him at Darren M. Peppard. He's also at Road to Awesome. He is partnered up with Codebreaker. He is a publishing arm, a wing, I like to say, of Codebreaker. And he is started on this journey. Darren wrote the book Road to Awesome. It was actually one of the first Codebreaker books that I had the chance to read. And it's amazing. It's an amazing book. I highly recommend it. Yeah. And Darren, I mean, what do you think so far? Talk about your work with Darren and the fact that he started this publishing company, I want to say a couple weeks ago. And now I think he has 5 or 6 authors. Yeah. He had children books going. And he's got like a little mini Codebreaker going on. And we're all so excited for him at Codebreaker. And we're also excited for Darren because he's been doing great work. So talk a little bit about your work and time with Darren since we're dedicating the episode to him.
Well, I read his book. I went and bought his book and I read it. And after I finished reading it, I was like, wow, I've never worked for somebody who has that much passion in that way. And I was like, I kind of wish I could work for him. And, part of me is like, wait, I kind of can. He just has so much energy and he just has such a belief in empowering others. And I just love that about him. Like, I love the fact that he's told his story and he's now helping others tell their stories. And he's so funny. Every time he gets close to signing someone, he's like, I can't tell you who it is, but it's going to be so awesome. It's going to be so great. You're going to be so astounded. And then when we find out who it is, we're like, yes. And we're just like Codebreaker's a family. He's trying to build that same thing with Road to Awesome. And it's really amazing to be part of. And he's just such an amplifier of educators. And I think that that's just so important. And, if I thought about the fact that he's a superintendent, I might be overwhelmed, but he's just such a genuine person. It's really refreshing and it's really energizing. I just can't, and, I would say when we were talking and I was like, are you sure I'm ready for this? And he's like, you're ready. And I'm like, when he's so positive about everything, even if you do have those self-limiting beliefs, he pushes you past them. And it's just been so wonderful to have him in my life. I've known Darren for a little over a month, which is just amazing. I was definitely connected with him beforehand, but I had never had any interactions with him since the 24th of December till now. Now I'm an author for him. Like, it's crazy. But he believed in me.
It's amazing.
And sometimes we just need someone to believe in us. And I talked about this in the blog post that I wrote for you. My husband believed in me for a long time. And finally, I had to come to that belief too, because somebody else can believe in you, but until you do, you're not going to reach where you need to be.
Yes, I love that. Of course. And it's funny, you bring up a good point too, how when we look at people's titles, right? They're a superintendent, they're a principal, whatever, right? And especially when they're in your own building, right? You see people in this kind of pyramid, right? These people who are at the top and here, and I'm wherever I am on that. And, but then when you don't know someone, and you meet someone just through Twitter or through the professional learning network that you have, that's the beauty for me of the professional learning network. Like, we're all on the same page. It doesn't matter what your title is, because you're not in charge of me and I'm not in charge of you, but we're just in this together. And I think that's something really powerful that you just made me realize about the professional learning network, and how, here are these people who are superintendents in places, and, they're just titles. We're all out there, and, leaders are leaders. We're all leaders.
Absolutely.
We're all education leaders. And by putting your stamp and your name on a book, that makes you a leader as well. And so I think that that's just an amazing thing. And I love that you said that. I really love it. So here's the important question. You got this book coming out. What's our kind of timeline? What are we thinking? Month, 2 months, a week, 5 days? Any idea? We gotta wait.
The last time I talked to Darren, we were looking at like late March, early April-ish.
Awesome. Awesome.
So, we'll just have to see how it goes. Like I said, we're in editing right now. And when I have more of a timeline, I'll definitely be sharing it, but that's the timeline we have right now.
Yeah, don't rush it. You're in the space of the unknown, right? And I'm sure there's 1,000 things that you're thinking you're going to write down, and I want to add this and I want to add that. And what about this story? And
I can't add anything now because it's in editing. So it's like,
you're right.
That's why I'm doing so much writing besides that.
That's so cool. And you know what? It's funny, even now that this book is in print, it's signed, sealed, delivered, I still have ideas, right? I still have thoughts. So here's the question. Here's the $1 million question. It's worth 10 cents on this show. Unlocking unlimited potential means. Can you finish that sentence?
It means asking what you aspire to be, and then taking the risks that you need and steps you need to reach that intent, believing in yourself when you have fear, and continuing on anyways. It means taking that next step, because without it, you won't ever get what you want.
I love that. That's excellent. I agree, right? No fear, right? I love it. So you have this book coming out. We're super excited about this book coming out. How can people keep in touch with you? Where can they find you if they don't already know, if they've been living under a rock? How about that?
I'm on pretty much all social media except Facebook at Tannenbaum Tech on Facebook. I think it's Debbie L. Tannenbaum. But besides that, and I have a website now. I finally got a domain name, so it's tannenbaumtech.com. My blog is there.
That's awesome.
I have some presentations up there, some podcasts that I've done, and my upcoming presentations, which I have quite a few coming in March. I've a busy March this year. So in addition to my book potentially coming out, I think I'm presenting at like 6 conferences in March. So it's going to be busy.
Wow, that's going to be awesome. It's going to be busy. Busy is good, though. That's the thing. You
Lots
have a
of virtual
message to
travel.
share. Yeah, that's free. Virtual travel doesn't.
Oh,
it
I know.
doesn't
I'm
cost you
enjoying
anything.
it. My oldest is in college. It's a challenge.
It is. That's so awesome. And you know, I think that's another like silver lining of the pandemic, right? That we are able to be in more places at once quickly and being able to do more speaking and more conferences. And so that's awesome. So you can see her website at the bottom of the page. Debbie, this has been awesome. I am so excited about your book. I can't wait. I hope that your book is the first book published at Road to Awesome, because I know that Darren has just put a tremendous effort into getting that off the ground. All the code breakers are behind it. All of us were super excited for him to get a first book in print. And what an amazing thing for your book. Your book sounds really great. It sounds awesome. I think it's something that we all need right now too, with all these things going on in the world, you know, technology. I think that, you know, I think that's an important tool. And I think that we need to be really looking at technology, because technology going forward is really, it's the future. And we've found so much potential in our kids and how much they can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and just also looking at the ways we're using it, I feel like we've found some really great promise in ways that we would have never thought we could use technology. And so as we move forward, we really have to think about how we're using it to its best advantage.
Awesome. Well, that was amazing. I love it. That was an amazing, you know, conversation. I love talking to people about books. I appreciate you, you know, coming on and talking about my book, but more importantly, I like talking about your story and your book and how it's all connected. You definitely have a story of unlocking unlimited potential that's happening right as we speak, which I love hearing about and so inspirational to hear. So that is just amazing. So we're going to wrap this thing up. I love what you said. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for everything. I can't wait for all the awesome stuff that you have coming out. Just remember, everybody, that the journey to unlocking unlimited potential begins with us, and continue to educate with passion. Have a great day, all. Make sure that you get on. Lots of great things going on today. I think there's a power half hour with, I'm thinking there's a Teach Better thing going on with Jeff Gargis and Dave Schmittou, probably. That's usually around today. There's also the Empower Half Hour that is Darren Peppard, Bradley Skinner, and also Frank Rudneski. That's going on today at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So get on there. Lots of awesome stuff. Tons of chats happening today. Education Never Die chats is also happening today at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So have an awesome day. Be well, everyone, and continue to unlock unlimited potential in all you serve. Thanks for coming on, Debbie.